Hi, Andrew Wade here with Case Specific Nutrition and another registered dietitian rant. This is actually a question I pulled straight out of my inbox that I responded to probably about 30 minutes ago, but it's one that I get only about, 3 to 4 times a week. So it's something that's pretty common in my world. And it is, what recommendations do you have about going out to eat? So going out to restaurants poses a huge dilemma for a variety of clients, but mostly this is targeted towards the weight loss clients. Those people who are trying to either follow a calorie regimen or following eating guidelines, portion control, all of these things that they're trying to do to reduce calorie intake and effectively lose weight. And when they go out to a restaurant, most of their tools, guidelines, plans, and habits are thrown completely out the window. And I see on a fairly regular basis a lot of my clients who report having their Monday through Friday, their 9 to 5 schedule where they have no issues. They really, they get their breakfast, lunch, dinner, they get their snacks in. But again, they have that one day a week or that one evening a week where they go out to dinner and they kind of freeze. They're not quite sure what they should eat, what their choices are, what their options are, how to account for it. So I wanted to provide a little bit of insight today about some of the tricks that you can use when you're going out to a restaurant. The first thing we have to recognize is the dilemma of going out to eat when you're trying to lose weight. On your end, you are trying to portion control, reduce the amount of energy or calories in your food. And the restaurant, on the other hand, is trying to ensure that you have high quality service, so they're going to try and give you as much food as humanly possible. The other thing is you heavily base your food on taste, and so a restaurant is going to do everything it can to make the food as tasty as possible. And I'm sure many of you have read the book Salt, Sugar, Fat, the 3 things that our body crave. Restaurants are going to be very, very sneaky about adding extra salt, extra sugar, and extra fat. So right off the bat, you're walking into a scenario where there's probably more calories in the food than you're typically used to. It's hard to figure out where they're coming from because they're sort of hidden. And there's a whole list of options of foods that may not really fit into your day very well, but are there and just as tempting nonetheless. And so what can we do about this? What I propose is 2 things. The first thing is recognizing why we eat. There's 3 reasons why we eat food. The first is energy. So again, the calorie intake, our body's ability to burn for fuel, to keep our heart beating, to be active, to do the things we need to do. The other 2 reasons we eat are for satiety, so feeling of fullness. Obviously you're hungry, so you eat. And then taste. Most people nowadays focus on taste as the priority when we eat. But in fact, fullness and energy are actually the 2 real reasons that we should be eating. Taste should be simply a bonus. So what I like to recommend for my clients is to think about that when you go out to eat. You want to prioritize all 3 of them, not just taste. You don't sit down and say, what looks good, pick and go. You sit down and say, what does my body need? From an energy perspective, what's gonna give me the calories I need? What's gonna keep me full? And then from those options, those narrowed down options, what looks good? So taste is always there, it should always be a priority, but sometimes we have to take it off the pedestal and replace energy and satiety at the top of the list. The second thing that I encourage my clients to think about when they go out to eat is what I like to call the order of operation. So this is a little more attentive to the process of how we eat the food we eat. There's 2 subcategories within this. First is the idea of when you eat at home or when you eat at work, typically you eat a 1-course meal. You pack your lunch or you make your dinner. It's rare that we have an appetizer, a soup, a salad, an entree, and a dessert in 9 to 5 settings. In the restaurants, on the other hand, it's very common for us to have multiple servings or multiple courses. And where that becomes problematic is usually when you go to a restaurant, you're hungry. And so you sit down and the first thing you do is you look at the appetizers, so something's on the way while you're deciding your other food. The problem is most people don't think that appetizers have calories for whatever reason. And so when you then go look at the rest of your meal, you think about your entree, but you've already eaten your entire meal in terms of calories. I always tease my clients and say the spinach artichoke dip usually has more calories in it than you need in an entire day. And while it's delicious, that is in no way helpful to someone trying to lose weight. The other piece of this order of operation is the literal order in which you eat the food that is presented in front of you. So after you pick your entree, there's generally going to be a protein source, a vegetable, and some sort of carbohydrate source, whether it be a grain or a potato or a pasta, whatever it is. Most people pick those three things as their main components of their entree. Most people then eat the carbohydrate source first. So they load up on the pasta, the rice, the bread, those kind of things at the restaurant, and then they end up filling up on that, not eating their vegetables, not eating their protein. What's interesting is going back to what we mentioned earlier about the idea of satiety, protein and fiber are what keep us full. And so what I propose to my clients is eat your vegetables first. They've got your vitamins, your minerals, your antioxidants, your phytonutrients, and your fiber, followed by your protein source in that meal. It's going to keep you full, and then finish with the carbohydrates. More often than not, you'll find by the time you get to that carb source, you're going to end up getting too full to finish. And what you've effectively done is reduced the calorie portions, because most of the fat is generally in that carb as well. It's where they add all the oils and those kind of things because it cooks well in that. So you've effectively eliminated a lot of extra calories, a lot of extra energy, but you leave the meal still enjoying the taste and enjoying the flavor. So again, there's a couple easy steps we can do. We've got the orders of operation. Remember, vegetable, protein, then grain. And then we've got recognizing that the entire meal at a restaurant has calories. So the appetizer, the soup, the salad, and the entree all add up. And generally speaking, it's pretty hard to have a 5-course meal that fits a weight loss budget. Just a couple things to consider from Case Specific Nutrition. Again, if you want more information, you can visit my website, casespecificnutrition.com, or my blog, pittsburghdietitian.com. I'm also on Twitter at amwadenutrition and on Facebook at Case Specific. Thank you.